recording. We need to, okay, because that worked for you with your other situation. Okay, so you want to do the second question? To
Yeah.
explore the connection, to explore the connection between romantic relationships versus friendships. How do you determine which relationship takes priority, and how does this decision affect the decision maker? Okay. So, should romantic relationships take priority over friendships in adult life? Check the table below. You have been placed in a for or against, depending on the topic. All right, so you are, which group are you in?
The last one.
You're okay, so you're doing so basically, okay, so your group, you're saying that friendships should be more important in adult life than romance. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, I see you. There you are. Um, okay. So it shouldn't take oh, interesting approach. Okay, each side must present real life evidence and examples. You will research your position on the topic. When you come into class, you will have a 10 to 15 minute. Okay, then we will start 20-minute debates. After the debates, the class can reflect. Okay, interesting. Why shouldn't romantic relationships take priority over friendships? That's a really interesting topic. Do you have anything yet? Did you start yet or not yet?
Mm. Well, I did I did like find like some pages.
Can you put the link in the chat so I can look at it? I
Yeah.
want to see what you found. Because you're usually pretty, once you have a little bit of guidance, you're usually pretty good at finding stuff. Let's see. Oops. Trying to get me in there. Right. Let me see if it went to the chat here. Oh, there it is. There she is. Okay. Let's see. It's important to remember that you had friends before your relationship. I haven't been in many romantic relationships, but I have seen my friends in them over the years. Unfortunately, I've also seen a fair share of those friends prioritize their partner over their friends. Usually, I've taken a back seat while my friends were in relationships. However, when things would go south, I was there to help them through it. At the beginning of many relationships, people become slightly obsessed with their partners. That's understandable, but I don't think people should prioritize their relationships over their friends. This signals to your friends that your romantic relationship is more important than your friendships. This can also make your friends view you as selfish. It can even lead to the end of some very important friendships. It did for me. I lost a best friend because of it, and we didn't speak for 4 years. We finally reconnected last year, and we're in a better place now, and this situation taught me a lot. Do I think it's important to dedicate time to your partner? Absolutely. But you shouldn't make it your sole focus because it means you're neglecting other parts of your life, like the people and things that deserve just as much attention. Your intentions may be good at first, but eventually you'll realize that both you and your partner need to spend time apart sometimes in order to grow as individuals. If your romantic relationship is taking control of your life, it might be time to reevaluate whether it's healthy and worth continuing. In the end, no single relationship should come before everything else in your life. When people get into relationships, especially in the beginning, They tend to go all in. For many people, the partner becomes their whole world, a world talked about nonstop to friends and family. Let me see. Sure that I do not disturb here because yes. Um your friends can tell when you're preoccupied with thoughts of this new person. They also see when you're texting your significant other back and forth while you're supposed to be hanging out with your friends. And this rude behavior signals to your friends that they aren't important, that your partner comes first. I know this feeling because I've experienced it countless times over the years. It's very important to remember that you had friends before your relationship. Don't forget to prioritize them along with your romantic relationship, because when you have problems with your partner, you're going to need your friends' support. It all comes down to balance. Don't live solely for one relationship that's taking over your life. Remember who you were before you found your person. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do you have anything else?
Um, I think I put like another link in the chat.
Okay. Let me check. Let me exit page because it doesn't want to close. And this thing is like taking up a lot of bandwidth space. There. Let's see. Do you have another one? Oh yeah, there it is. Let me see. Well, this is a longer one. Let's see what it says. Which would you save, friend or romantic partner? Okay. Let me put this on the screen. Oh, you have it on the screen. Okay. Let me read from here. Imagine that both you and your best friend and your romantic partner have fallen into a river. You can save one of them. What do you do? Perhaps you've already dived in, but you've got time to think before mortal danger befalls either of them. Or you're the enlightened kind like me, who knows that time heals all wounds and thus preemptively watches both get swept away to the land from which none return. Then perhaps you'll spend some time thinking over how we, as a society, view platonic and romantic relationships. First off, what exactly is the difference between the two? Personally, I like to think of friends as separate individuals who have their own lives, and romantic partners as well, the opposite. That sounds bad. Let me explain. I've had several conversations with friends about what exactly romantic attraction is. As someone who experiences romantic attraction, the defining difference is that I think frequently and without conscious control about people I like romantically. Think intrusive thoughts, but pleasant instead of distressing. Romantic love is sometimes compared to an addiction because it involves similar neurochemicals and brain activities. Don't do cocaine, kids, just fall in love. Perhaps simply because of romantic attraction, romantic partners are drawn to communicate with each other more frequently. I'll posit that a blurring of identities also results from romantic relationships. Picture a Venn diagram. The ones with the circles that don't overlap represents you and your friend. The ones with the circles that do overlap represents romantic partners. Do you understand what he means here, or do you need me to draw this?
Mm. Yeah, I think I need you to look.
To draw it? Sure, I can do that. Let me, okay, let me see. Let me go and do this. Let me see what I've got. First, I have to enlarge it, and then I have to change the view so that I can actually share the screen. And I'm going to replace it. I'm going to go to document. I'm going to go to, I'll go to whiteboard. There should be a whiteboard option here. Docs note, okay. That's good. That's weird. They don't have a whiteboard option. It always did before. Docs note. All right, well, what I can do is, let me see. That is so weird because normally I have, okay, let's see. Where are you? No, that's audio. PowerPoint, background, option, computer audio. Okay, I'll just do it like this. Docs, no. All right, well, that is so weird because normally, not sure why that's not there, but okay. Let me do it like this. Screen, share, stop sharing. Let me share this. See if this works. Come down here and see if I think they moved a bunch of stuff. Um, Let me try that and see if that can't use it. Okay. Docs is name. Box is name. This should not. I don't know what happened there. I'm just gonna do this like this and I'll annotate it on the screen. That's what I'll do. Let me do this another way. I don't know why I don't have a whiteboard right now, but let me see. Let me do it like this. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share the screen. And did I share this? No. View. Oh. So basically what's happening is this. He's saying, let me annotate. Come over here. Whoops. What the heck? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, let me. that. And let me annotate this. Okay, there we go. All right, so now what he's saying is this. We're gonna come over here. So you've got, basically you have two circles that come together. So what he's looking at, where's my shapes? Draw. Mhm. Okay. Well, again, let's wing it. Why not, right? All right. So draw here and shape tools. So we have a circle here. And then we have another circle. We have another one here. Something like this, like that. Okay. So basically what happens, and maybe they should overlap more. The more they overlap, the more common ground they have. But essentially, this could be your friends. So this circle here is all your friends. Okay. So you've got friends in this circle here. That includes this piece in the middle. And this piece over here is, this is you. Okay. This is you. Now, you've got something and you've got common ground with your friends, right? So the assumption here, and it's not a bad assumption, but the assumption here is that your friends are part of your circle. So essentially, you have your partner. I'll have to write in, I think, because it won't make sense if I don't. So your partner is, your partner is here. This is your partner in here. And it's really hard to write in that box. But maybe I'll just fill it in instead. Your partner is here. So your partner overlaps with your friends and you. But if you have a partner, they're in here. And the more area this takes. So if your picture looks more like this, let's say that, because that would mean that you had a relatively short zone, right? Now, let me show you something. I took a screenshot of that, by the way. So if your screenshot looks more like this, where you have, here's your circle, And here's, let's say here, right? Where you have more overlap. I made this too big, but if you have more overlap like that, then it takes up more of your life. So if I had a circle that was more like this, see here, you and your partner have more common ground because it takes up more of the circle, right? And so what this person is saying is if I have my friends here, and I have myself over here, this is me, this is you, right? Your partner is in here. This is your partner here. In this part of the circle. The more this area in the middle takes, the less you actually have for your friends. So the first article was like, you need to give your friends space. The second article's saying you can't save both of these people, but you have an overlapping connection to you and your partner here. Like this is what happens, okay? And so what happens here, what the article is saying is that, okay, so let me see. Let me take a screenshot of this also so that you can have it for later. So that's what a Venn diagram is. This Venn diagram is these overlapping circles. And you can have more than those, but he's just talking about two. But that's what a Venn diagram means. It's named for the person who invented that. So let me go back to the article that I had open. Let me see here. Share. Okay. I need to switch views. So let me go here. Exit full screen because I need to pull this down and pull this out. Now I'm gonna go back to my go back to my screen share here. So I'm gonna say that, okay, there's my window. Now, he says, I've had several conversations with friends about what exactly romantic attraction is. As someone who experiences romantic attraction, the defining difference is that I think, excuse me, frequently and without conscious control about people I like romantically. Think intrusive thoughts, but pleasant instead of distressing. Romantic love is sometimes compared to an addiction because it involves similar neurochemicals and brain activities. Don't do cocaine, kids, just fall in love. Now, that's an interesting point. This is Jess Zhang. Okay. Perhaps simply because of romantic attraction, romantic partners are drawn to communicate with each other more frequently. All posit that a blurring of identities also results from romantic relationships. Picture a Venn diagram, which is what I just showed you. The one with the circles that don't overlap represents you and your friend. The ones with the circles that do overlap represents romantic partners. This idea is not new. ever heard the expressions, you complete me or you're my better half, used to refer to a romantic partner? But a romantic relationship necessarily better or more important than a friendship? Historically and scientifically, the answer has been no, not necessarily. From the 1700s to the early 1900s, incredibly intimate same sex friendships were more common, partially because women's and men's spheres were so separate, and because sexuality wasn't understood as an identity that could be stigmatized. Only same sex sexual acts were condemned, not same sex desire or affection. So an intimate same sex friendship wasn't necessarily viewed with suspicion or prejudice. But as our understanding of sexuality, our expectations around marriage and society itself changed, intimate friendships were deprioritized in favor of intimate romantic relationships. Scientifically, there's no reason to think that friends are any less important than romantic partners. Research shows that spending time with friends improves mental health more so than spending time with a spouse, and that people are happiest when they're with their friends and their spouse, not just their spouse. That's a really key point. That's a good point for your argument right here. Friendship comes with health benefits too. Large social networks are more effective than either exercise or dieting alone in decreasing the risk of premature death. A 6-year study of Swedish men in their 50s found that having friends decreased the risk of heart attack. Now, she does, let me click on this research to see. I'm going to save that in another tab in a second. Let me go. Let me get, just because she quotes this study, it would be a good idea to probably have it, whether you use it or you don't, because it's a good study. I don't know how this is 2 years old though, so interesting that she goes back to that. She found that having friends decreased the risk of heart attack and death from coronary heart disease, while having a partner did not. For older adults, social isolation is comparable to smoking, obesity, and physical inactivity in increasing the risk of premature death from any cause. On the other hand, loneliness associated with the risk with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide. That's not the best news, given that a US survey found that in general, people have fewer friends today than in the past, with a share of respondents reporting that they have no close friends, rising from 3% in 1990 to 12% in 2021. And yet, as a society, we value romance over friendship. The discrimination against single people is not just subtle or social, but also legal and financial. There are more than 1,000 US laws that benefit only married people, affecting Social Security, which is primarily subsidized by singles based on the assumption that they will eventually marry. Taxes, married couples can save thousands of dollars just by filing jointly, and health insurance. One article roughly estimates that the cost of being Single is a little over $1 million over a lifetime, assuming a fixed salary of $80,000, about 1.32 million and 106,000 today, respectively, and a little under 500,000, assuming a fixed salary of $40,000. In comparison, there are no similarly recognized unions for committed platonic friends. That's not to say that you can't marry a platonic friend, which would be quite queer platonic of you, but simply that the legal recognition of only romantic partnerships discounts the similar importance of close friendships and contributes to a not even false belief that romantic relationships are more valuable than friendships. Love for a friend is different from love for a parent, which is different from love for a child, which is different from love for a romantic partner. But love shouldn't be hierarchical. With romantic love as the principle transcending other types of love. Yet, by cultural and institutional metrics in the US, from legal discrimination against single people to common phrases like more than friend that imply friendship is characterized by a lack rather than a plenary. To the agoraphobia inherent in the assumption that everyone who is single would like to eventually be in a romantic relationship, when some people simply don't experience romantic attraction. It kind of is. So who do you save, the friend or the partner? Instinctively, you'd probably save the one you love more and would miss more, regardless of whether that love is romantic or platonic in nature. Logically, though, I'd advise you to go for the one who'll net you those sweet, sweet married tax benefits. So she would advise you to go for the partner because you can get tax benefits from it. I think in terms of the argument from what you got so far, and let me share this with you as prioritizing friendships over romantic partners. So I think in terms of your reasons, in terms of your arguments so far from the articles that you've found, and let me share this just so you can have some I think the first thing you would say is, okay, so your question here is, should romantic partners be, or romantic relationships be, and I don't know why I wrote it like that. Hold on. Your position is that romantic relationships should not be prioritized over friendships. And you have more evidence for this because doing so leads to a loss of identity and um, undermines sort of elements that can be crucial when difficulties strike, something like that. That's your position. For those reasons, it's a loss of identity that undermines supportive elements that can be crucial when difficulties strike. That's your position right now. So now your evidence is that, okay, so your evidence, first of all, is, and this is the third link in your chat. So let me bring it up. Did it not open? There we go. Okay. So this article, let me bring this down. And let me see. So let me make sure that it actually, okay, yeah. So this is actually, let me share it again. So this is your third. So it says, let me read the first part of this. In the past, the fact that friendships weren't sexual was a sign of how deep and how sacred they are. The phrase just friends carries an unspoken message. Romantic friendships trump platonic ones. Author Marissa Franco wants to flip that relationship and put friendship on top. She examined this hierarchy of love in her book, Platonic: How the Science of Attachment Can Help You Make and Keep Friends. Now, often we see friendship like romance, but with something subtracted, Franco told Tapestry host Mary Haynes. That's why we say things like, you can become more than friend, or we're just friends. Whereas in the past, the fact that friendships weren't sexual was a sign of how deep and sacred they are. Franco, a psychologist and professor at the University of Maryland, shares what she's learned through her extensive research on friendship and its role in our lives. Here's part of her conversation with Tapestry host Mary Hines. If you can take us back quite a few years, quite a few ages here, quite a few eons, how has the value people put on friendship, platonic friendship, evolved over time? Earlier in the 1700s and before, in the Western world, people did not get married for love. They got married because it was practical, because another family member would give them resources, which would look good, because it would look good combining their last names together. It was sort of almost like a business decision, and your family often chose for you. You might have a vote, but it was definitely not based on love. And at the time, the genders were considered to be so distinct that the idea was that you could only truly connect with people who shared your gender, which tended to be your friends. So around them, friends would do things like carve their names into trees, hold hands, share beds, cuddle, write love letters to each other. All this stuff was super normal at the time. Why did friendship begin to take such a back seat to romantic love? So around 1867, the way we perceive sexual orientation really changed. Before then, it was taboo to have sex with someone of the same sex, but it wasn't taboo to show love to people of the same sex, right? So anything that wasn't sex was okay. You could write the love letters, you could hold hands, you could cuddle with each other. It was taboo only to have sex, not all of these other constellation of behaviors. But we had two psychiatrists, Richard von Krafft-Ebing and Sigmund Freud. And they started to argue that your sexual orientation is an entire identity. It's not just who you're having sex with. It says something about who you are as a person. It says you're a disordered person. After that, now, all of these behaviors that were so normal in friendship started to become stigmatized. We can't love each other too deeply, or it may indicate we have this shameful sexual orientation. We can't hold hands. We can't cuddle. And so, after that change in how we view sexual orientation, I would say homophobia, and specifically homohysteria. It's a term that has been used to describe straight men's fears of being perceived as gay, really limit people's ability to have that same depth of same sex intimacy through friendship. But I don't know if she's gotten into it here, but there's also the notion it's probably still true for women. But in this society, in American society, women have more room, more space to sort of blur that boundary. If you walk down the street and you see two women holding hands, I don't think the automatic assumption is they're necessarily lesbian. I don't think people would automatically go, oh, yeah, what a nice lesbian couple. They could be friends. But if you saw two men holding hands walking down the street, you'd automatically think that they were gay, a gay couple. So I don't know that there's as much hysteria for just to sort of throw that out there. I think she's probably right, but I don't necessarily think that women are as phobic of same-sex friendships, and I don't think that society is as much um, sort of mm, fascinated or fixated on same sex female friendships as they are male. Um, but let's see if she says anything. If we go even further back, platonic love was really put on a pedestal in the 15th century. That would be the 1400s. Tell me a bit about this view back then when the term was first coined. It was interesting that platonic love was almost like a threat in the church because it could threaten people's love for God, the deep love they could have for friends. And there's an Italian philosopher, Marsilio Ficino, and he defined the term platonic love from Plato's understanding of friendship. And it was really a term that defined a relationship that's so deep and so profound that it transcends the physical. I think we often see friendship as like romance, but with something subtracted, right? And that's why we say things like you can become more than friends or we're just friends. Whereas in the past, the fact that friendships weren't sexual was a sign of how deep and how sacred they are. Do you ever have a moment when you wish the world would get back to those days? This return to platonic love being so profound that it verges on dangerous. I'm very interested in queer communities because I think queer communities, from all the research that I've done, have really led the way in pushing us to envision a world that's different. There's the term relationship anarchy, which is not seeing any of your relationships on a hierarchy. So my romantic partner is equal to my best friend, for example. Queer communities have also, it's more normal to choose a friend as a life partner. There's even terms for it like zucchini for your platonic life partner. I didn't know that term. That's an interesting one. So I will say that there are communities that are envisioning a different world than the sort of stilted, very nuclear, very fetishized way of looking at romantic love that tends to make us all a bit disappointed. I want to quote you here. Friendship in releasing the relationship pressure valve infuses us with joy like no other relationship. Tell me about that pressure valve. What's being released? When you have a spouse, you have like 10 different relationships in one. You're a friend, you're a sex partner, you're a travel companion, you're a meal companion. We have to do chores together. We have to work out all the practicalities of life together. There's just so many little things. And I think sometimes these different roles that we can play feel very conflicting towards each other. And with friends, sometimes I think distance can create intimacy, and that's okay. Sometimes when people are around their friends, they just feel freer, they feel less stressed. There's also research that even for older people, hanging out with friends improves their mental health, even more than hanging out with their spouse, for example. Or other research that finds that people are happiest when around friends and their spouse versus just being around their spouse. So there's this way that because friendship has, in the way it's typically defined and seen, has way less pressure and obligation and responsibility, that it can feel like a relationship where there's just more room for joy and happiness and lightness and love. So I would say that um, if you start from um, the evidence here, and this one is the one that, let me come up to the chat. Hold on. That was, let me look at the article again. Because I think I closed it. Why you shouldn't put your romantic partner before your friend. Um, that was this is unwritten. Okay. It's not attributed to anybody. Let me scroll down. No, it doesn't say. So this one, I'm gonna close a couple of these. And this one is this one is um just young is the one about whether you're gonna drown your okay. So if we say so we'd say something like historically friendships were this is from that interview. Let me see which one is this is the and maybe what we can do is we can look for an article where they have something like we can look for a piece, which she gave us some, but I think it would be easier to like, but we're not sexual, something like that. So there's another article here. Now this might be interesting. Let's see what this is. Have you ever heard the term romantic friendship? The term is used in historical scholarship to describe an intimately loving yet non-sexual or perceived to be non-sexual relationship between two non-related people of the same sex. Romantic friendships differ from platonic friendships in the intensity of the bond involved in the inclusion of close physical affection and emotionally poetic communication. Okay, so this is important because there's platonic friendships and there's romantic friendships, which is what, so that might be important too. Like, um, because I'll come back to that. Um, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams was a good one. Um, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. So let's see. Here's an interesting one. This is a good article, but I think it might be too, I'll give it to you, but I think it might be a little bit too much in terms of detail, but it's a really good, but this one I want to look at because I remember I have a student that did a report, but it wasn't on, it wasn't on the friendship between John Adams. It was on the election, but I want to look at um kind of look at this. This is interesting. Um let's look at this one. John Adams was a politician and the second president of the United States. The close friendship between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams began when they met at the 1775 Continental Congress in Philadelphia. Although different in many ways down to their appearance, the two developed a strong respect and liking for one another. In 1776, they worked together on the committee to draft the Declaration of Independence, and in 1784, Jefferson joined Adams in France on diplomatic service. While Jefferson remained in Paris, Adams served primarily in London, from where Jefferson wrote Abigail Adams. He considered her as my neighbor. In March of 1786, Jefferson went to England on diplomatic business. Though in the 2 months he was there, he and Adams found time to make a tour of English gardens. They also visited Shakespeare's home and shipped off a bit of his chair as a souvenir. In Adams' words, according to the custom. Through their work and play, Jefferson and the Adamses, because John Adams was married. Jefferson revealed his affection to James Madison, writing that Adams is so amiable that I pronounce you will love him if ever you become acquainted with him. Mrs. Adams called Jefferson one of the choice ones of the earth, and Mr. Adams wrote Jefferson that intimate correspondence with you is one of the most agreeable events in my life. Despite their close friendship, Jefferson wrote that he and Adams were often separated by different conclusions we had drawn from our political reading. The two maintained their friendship despite their political differences until 1801, the year that Jefferson became president. As Jefferson wrote Mrs. Adams, I can say with truth that one act of Mr. Adams' life, and one only, ever gave me a moment's personal displeasure. By this, Jefferson was referring to last-minute political appointments made by Adams just before Jefferson succeeded him as president. Jefferson wrote that the appointments were selected from among my most ardent political enemies, who could be counted on to work against his executive authority. Jefferson admitted to brooding over it for some little time, and during this period, they ceased writing one another. When Jefferson retired from the presidency in 1809, Dr. Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration that Adams and Jefferson worked to create, took it upon himself to renew their suspended friendship. He had no success until 1811, when one of Jefferson's neighbors visited Adams in Massachusetts. The neighbor returned to Virginia with the report that he had heard Adams say, I have always loved Jefferson, and I still love him. In response to these words, Jefferson wrote Dr. Rush, this is enough for me. I only needed this knowledge to revive toward him all the affections of the most cordial moments of our lives. He asked Rush to persuade Adams to renew their correspondence. A letter from Adams was forthcoming, and they continued to write until their deaths. This reconciliation began a rich correspondence that touched on myriad topics, from reminiscences about their contributions to the young nation's history to opinions on current political issues, to matters of philosophy and religion, to issues of aging. The letters were also light-hearted and filled with affection. Jefferson wrote to Abigail Adams, I have compared notes with our Mr. Adams on the score of progeny, and I am ahead of him. They're talking about the number of children they have. I think I am ahead of him and think I am in a fair way to keep so. I have 10.5 grandchildren and 2 3/4 great-grandchildren, and these fractions will ere long become units. So their respective wives were pregnant, and it was a reference to how far along in their pregnancy they are. And so when their pregnancy had been completed and the baby was born, the baby would be a unit. The baby would be hope. After 15 years of resumed friendship on July 4th, 1826, Jefferson and Adams died within hours of each other. Their deaths occurred, perhaps appropriately, on the 15th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Unaware that his friend had died hours earlier, Adams' family later recalled that his last spoken words were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." So this is some really nice stuff that you can say that there's a historical, and I'm going to put this in there. Um, there's a historical bent to that. So, and so you have things like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. You can say both men had a mutual respect for one another, despite their political differences. And even though both were married to women. So, and you might, so I'm going to say that I'm going to go ahead and just paste this so you'll have it. But you have the link in the chat. So I'm going to just use this. If you want to use a different quotes, you can, but I just want you to have something from it. This is, and I'm going to change the font. Let's see. Roman 12 font. And I'm going to go ahead and make this times 12. Okay. And then to make this. There we go. Okay. And this is going to be, and this is going to be from the name of this. The name of this is there a person who wrote it? I'm sure there is. Let's scroll down. There's a bunch of sources too if you need additional references. There's It doesn't say, okay. Monticello and the University of Virginia. Um, United Nations Educational. mm, it doesn't describe a particular, um, but it does give you the citations in there. So you have that one. And then we also have, let me look at, um, I'm looking up Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony. Um, so this one is it looks like it's a, let me make sure it's actually sharing it. Okay, it is. This is actually a magazine article. Let me see what this one says. Uh, it is 51 years since we first met, and we have been busy through every one of them, stirring up the world to recognize the rights of women. Susan B. Anthony wrote of her friend Elizabeth Cady Stanton in 1902. The letter, in honor of Stanton's 87th birthday, was printed in Pearson's magazine. It continued, we little dreamed when we first began this contest, optimistic with the hope and buoyancy of youth, that a half a century later we would be compelled to leave the finish of the battle to another generation of women. But our hearts are filled with joy to know that they enter upon this task equipped with a college education, with business experience, with the fully admitted right to speak in public, all of which were denied to women 50 years ago. They have practically 1 point to gain. The suffrage we had all. Anthony's reflections reveal a friendship that was public and political, but also private and genuine. From their activist beginnings in the anti-slavery and temperance movements to their leadership in the National American Women's Suffrage Association, two women, Anthony is the ground organizer and strategist, and Stanton as a writer, thinker, and commentator, were an inseparable force. The women had first met in 1851 when Anthony traveled to an anti-slavery meeting in Seneca Falls, New York, where Stanton had organized the first National Women's Rights Convention there in 1848. In remembering the day, Amelia Bloomer introduced them on a street corner. Stanton said, there she stood, with her good earnest face and general smile, dressed in gray delaine hat and all the same color, relieved with pale blue ribbons, the perfection of neatness and sobriety. I liked her thoroughly, and why I did not at once invite her home with me to dinner, I do not know. Both women were in their 30s. Anthony had been teaching in Stanton, was married to abolitionist Henry B. Stanton, etc., etc. They talk about their children. Um, and then we have I'm gonna use this one just because this is from oops, that's not the one. Um, oops, that's not, but where's my chat? There it is. Okay, let me grab the quote again, just so you have some, and then we can talk about um let me close that for a second. Where is it? Where is the letter? That was here it is. Um, um, and you can say something like, so this is that. Let me fix the font again. Let me just do this. There's a Roman 12 font. Okay. There we go. Okay, and that's from the article on, I think this one has an author. Yeah, this is by Cady June, Friesen. Cady, Jim, freezing. Cady, Jim. Um, and then we have so then you have something like um only after Freud. Um, you can say that. So these strong relationships, they can promote um better and stronger. They allow for and also I would say something like opponents to the position that friendships should be prioritized over romantic relationships will say that friendships interfere with but they don't have to. And they will also say that romantic partners share more with each other than friends. But this is a choice, not a necessity. Let me check something here. Um, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen for a second because I think you have enough sources and you have some example. So let me see what I can see here. Let me close the and let me go here. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this into it, and then I'm gonna incorporate some of that. Let me do this. Let me scroll down. Let's see. Copy here. So here's some other, let me put it on your notes here. I'm gonna start a new page on this page and work on some of that. This is some other notes that you can use. So I don't know if you want to define the terms. If you want to do that, I don't know that you want to do that here, but you certainly can. Define the terms, what a friendship is, a platonic relationship built on mutual respect, shared interest, and emotional support, versus a romantic relationship, which is a connection involving emotional intimacy, physical attraction, and exclusive commitment. Your assertion or your position, which I also have up there, and I'll bring it down. Let me bring this up here also so that we can I'm going to put it up here as well so that it's uh, this I copied from below as well, so that I left it down here. This is more like this is pretty much like your the unique strengths of friendships is more like your, where is that at? Let me see. Let me check this. What is that lady's name? Jian somebody. I think it's Jian Jang. Oh no, this is unwritten from U Tango. So your tango. So this is pretty much like Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Give me a second. Sorry. I thought I was. Um, I forgot to reshare it after I looked at it. There you go. Um, and so that was from your tango. Oops. Um, Hang on, let me go back and do that. This is from your tango kind of thing. And it's also and here this is also another situation where this is your tango here. Um, and then you had um this is you can use the idea here of you can cite Jiang Zhang here. Something like that. I'm gonna put this down here. and here, so then I think this is probably okay. Mm, I can't find that citation, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Move it up. Move that. So this will give you some additional notes to work with. It's probably more notes than you needed, but I think if you want to go into the presentation more, um, you you definitely can. If you want to find additional evidences, you can do that too. I don't know if I don't know if you want to continue that, but I think, did you have anything that you want to add in to that?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Like I said, if you have additional things that, or you want to use different references, you certainly could. I think I shared, did I share that with you or not? Did I share it? I thought I had. Yeah, I did. Okay, so you're there. All right, I was just checking to make sure that you had done that. Okay, so is that it for today?
Yes, that's it for today.
Okay, so same time tomorrow, 9 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, Daniela, I'll see you then. Okay. And
Okay, thank you.
it's gonna take me a little while, but I will start to render this and put it up just like I did with the fashion trends, but it's gonna take a little while. And then I'll send you the chat and the other notes, okay? But you have the Google Doc notes regardless. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.